Hello everyone, and welcome to NechamaComfort's annual event, a place for awareness, remembrance, and support for families who have suffered the tragic loss of a child. This year, we chose to host our event during the month of October, which is Infant Pregnancy Loss Awareness Month. President Ronald Reagan declared October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month in the United States, and the month is observed in many countries across the globe. For the families who experience this devastating loss, we do not need a specific month to remember. We remember our children every day. Who are the NechamaComfort families? The couples who have experienced early miscarriage, who are told there is no heartbeat, whose children are born still, who, because of today's medical advances, have to make heartbreaking decisions, whose time with their child was suddenly cut short, and the couple whose child only lived for 12 hours. Danny and I are that couple, and this is our son, Pesach. At this moment, I would like to introduce my team. Without their compassion and devotion, NechamaComfort would not exist. Esther Levy, Ellen Krischer, and Sharon Barth. Together, each and every day, we answer someone's cry for help. When we answer a call on the hotline or respond to an email on our website, the first words of comfort that we convey are, "We are sorry for what you are going through. You are not alone. How can we help?" How can we help? We offer choices to our clients on an individual basis. We help guide them through the difficult choices, and we are there throughout their journey. We are not just there to help the couple. We recognize that the entire extended family, grandparents, siblings, and other children, and the community at large are affected by this tragedy. We validate their suffering when others may try and minimize it. We arrange for proper burial of the baby according to the parents' wishes. We help families locate where their children are buried, since sometimes the parents are not told. We guide families and friends, medical personnel, and clergy on how to help these couples by offering proper training. There is no timeline for grief or for the support that NechamaComfort offers. Our services are offered to the clients free of charge because no family should suffer alone. We recognize that we are living today in a very difficult times. The families who experience this unique loss share some of the same feelings as people living through today's pandemic. For many, it occurs suddenly, without any explanation. There is unexplained loss. Why me? And there is uncertainty how to get through this, and when will it end? In the past 6 months, we at NechamaComfort have been asked to use our training and knowledge to not only help families who experience pregnancy and infant loss, but to help navigate the loss and grief associated with this pandemic. I, along with my team, quickly adapted to ensure our support to help families was not interrupted. Through technology, we were able to remain in touch with families and with clergy, medical staff, funeral homes, and Jewish communities around the world. Our support groups are reaching more people in more countries than ever before. We come here tonight to support the families who are experiencing these losses. We invite you to show that support to a family member, a community member, a friend, or an acquaintance. We also think of the families who were never able to attend a program like this, past generations who really were allowed to talk about pregnancy and infant loss and were saddled with grief. By joining us tonight, you are telling them you care. Tonight, you will have a chance to listen to the stories of some of our families, and see the pictures of so many who experience this loss each day. We also hope to give you some guidance on dealing with unexpected situations, whatever that may be. And we invite all of you to gain some comfort from this evening's presentation. At the end of the program, through the world of live stream, will have spent time with familiar faces and new acquaintances. We will shed a tear and a smile, and maybe even learn a new skill. We will honor and remember, and we will do it together and not alone. I would like to introduce Rabbi Yosef Adler, Rabbi of Congregation Rinat Yisrael of Teaneck, New Jersey, and Rosh Yeshiva, head of school at Torah Academy of Bergen County. Rabbi Adler has been a valued supporter of the work that NechamaComfort does continuously. We are grateful for his knowledge and guidance when dealing with issues regarding Shiva and mourning as it relates to the loss of an infant. And on a personal note, on behalf of my family, we thank you, Rabbi Adler. Rabbi Adler will now recite the Kel Maleh, a remembrance prayer.
A few weeks ago, we observed Simchat Torah, during which we highlight the children of our communities. And we have a special aliyah, Kol HaNe'arim, call up all the boys and girls to the Sefer Torah to participate in the mitzvah of getting an aliyah. In many shuls, including Rinat, we also recite a special Misha Berach so that anyone who happens to be pregnant at this time, she shall have the opportunity to carry the baby full term, and that the child reach Ben Kayama, a child who will survive and live a normal life. Unfortunately, too many women have not had that experience, and they find it difficult to get pregnant, and when they are pregnant, they suffer miscarriages, stillborns, and children who die prior to 30 days. Now I'm going to recite a Kel Maleh Rachamim for those who unfortunately are in that category, who lost a child early in life, or those who did not experience having a child, and hopefully going forward we will have a fulfillment of the prayer of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim, Shelo Tapil Isha et Bina. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu see to it that every child goes to full term and lives a perfectly normal life. El Maleh Rachamim Shoichein B'Meroimim Hamitzei Minucha Nechayna Al Kanefei Hashechiyena B'Mahalois Kidoishim Uteharim Kizaya Harakiya Mazirim Es Nishmois Hatinoko Shelo Higiyu Lichlal Ben Kayama Vishinaflu Be'et Horatam Bavur Shani Noide Litzidaka Bada Zekoras Nishmoi Sehem Bigane Yeden Tehei Minuchasam Lochein Balhurachamim Yastireim B'seise Kinafav Li'olamim V'yitziroi B'yitziroi Rachayim Es Nishmoi Sehem Adonai Hu Nachalosam V'yanuchu B'shalom Al Mishkvoi Sehem V'noimar Amen.
At the rising of the sun and as it goes down, we remember them.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, at the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn.
We remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us, as we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on theirs.
We remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us, as we remember them.
For your site, we used the date she was born. That seemed to make sense to us. I always try to find a pretty rock. I think this one's my favorite.
The hardest thing as being on a chevra, the hardest thing is having parents, lo aleinu, bury children.
One of the things I heard that I hated most was a rabbi who said to us that we had a modern day problem.
Somebody came up with the expression, time heals all wounds. I don't know who said it, but it's not true.
There would be moments that you think like everything's just fine, and then other moments that your world is ending.
Our son was born on Pesach, 1987. Came a little early. And it was, it was a great day for a little while.
It was a Sunday night in mid-March of 2016, and my husband and I went to bed very excited because we were eagerly anticipating the birth of a new grandchild.
My wife took the phone call, and I really can't talk about it.
And it was my son, and I remember exactly what he said.
The baby had passed away.
And I started to scream after I hung up the phone. I couldn't even begin to control my emotions. Knowing the pain that my son and daughter-in-law were in was overwhelming.
The first time I encountered an infant loss as a rabbi, I had no idea what to do, and I didn't really know who to turn to or who knew what to do in these circumstances. And my wife suggested to me, you should call a woman named Riva Judas.
I did put my finger in there. He held onto my finger briefly.
I do remember the doctors coming in and telling me that my son will be okay. Again, they told me that, but he'd have to be transferred to Hershey Medical Center because he's very, very sick.
I took the call in the hospital room that he passed away. And when Riva heard that, she let out a scream that I didn't know I could hear.
So the baby was delivered, and there were two sounds coming out of that room. One was the wailing of our son, a sound that I had never heard before and that I will never forget. But there was also the eerie silence. A baby had been born, and there was no crying.
Sunday morning, went to Hebrew school. Was kind of feeling a little bit off, but thought nothing of it. Little did I know that within half an hour, I would find myself giving birth in the bathroom of a restaurant.
We ended up on the floor, and I was holding her, and I ended up calling 911, and they were giving me instructions on mouth-to-mouth for a newborn
You really come to understand that a loss is a loss, and whether it's a 6-week loss or a full-time loss or even a post-delivery, people need help and support and understanding.
We came home and we didn't know what to do. Our rabbi was there the next morning, very supporting. All of a sudden we had questions about what to do for a burial, and I felt like I was delaying making those decisions and having those conversations because it was too difficult to admit that I was burying my stillborn child.
In the past, the way a fetus was handled was that the Chevra Kadisha would basically handle the matter from A to Z, so to speak, and the parents were not even involved. In fact, it was discouraged.
People who have stillbirths. So one of the things that Riva's idea was to have the couple buy a charm and add it to a necklace or a bracelet. So that way that person is, that child is always part of their family. And so so that the couple understands that there isn't a moving on, but that child and neshama is incorporated into their memory and into their family.
We heard this name Riva, and little did I know from the second that I called, there was an entire network behind the scenes, really working to support us. NechamaComfort has really helped us go through some difficult times.
And so we were able to do an autopsy and do a burial a few days later, name the baby, open our homes and do some sort of Shiva type thing, which was the most incredible thing that we could have done. Because at the end of the day, I don't want her to be forgotten just because, you know, she never took a breath here. Doesn't mean that she didn't change my life. And I want to say NechamaComfort was there for me, but the truth is they still are.
That baby was beautiful, and he looked like Ariel. And Ariel and Sherry sang to him, and they talked to him, and they made him a promise that they were going to give meaning to his life. And I think that one of the ways that they did it was to become involved with NechamaComfort, because that meant that they could help other people.
People call us from Israel, many phone calls from Israel. As far as Hong Kong, we get calls from families, communities, to help them help these couples and these families. We would never charge anybody for any of our services. Nobody's turned away. We help them from the beginning. We're very fortunate because we have connections with a lot of funeral homes, a lot of doctors. We try to expand our resources globally so we know where to turn in the time of crisis. And I realized that I couldn't do it alone.
I particularly appreciate the way that Riva always says, rabbis need to grieve also, and she's supportive not only of families in grief, but of the rabbi, and offering comfort to me and helping me comfort families.
I mean, obviously, anybody especially an organization that's dedicated to the ideal that if somebody's suffering, we are suffering with them, is a positive and is certainly a worthwhile organization or endeavor.
We need to have more training so that more people can be serviced. There's not a day that goes by that the phone doesn't ring. I wake up every morning to another email or text. We're with these couples forever. And we want to be able to continue our work. And with your help,
can help everybody.
Hi guys, my name is Elizabeth Sutton, and if you are not familiar with my work, I'm an artist and designer. It is no coincidence that I chose to take this video next to this particular artwork, which reads, "Life is precious, appreciate every moment, dance, smile, love, cry, breathe." In my life, I have been through a lot of loss, including loss of a baby. I've lost friends, I have lost people in my immediate family, through marriage, through divorce, but I've also lost a baby in a miscarriage at 12 weeks. And part of my brand and my message of inspiration to those who follow me are that I try to tell people that, I try to destigmatize loss in general, not just in regards to miscarriage, but all sorts of loss, because there's something in our society and culture that makes our losses almost like embarrassing. Like we're supposed to be these picture perfect, cookie box cutter, life's supposed to go a certain way, and if it doesn't go that way, hush hush about it, don't tell anybody because life's supposed to be perfect. Well, actually, life is really not perfect, and everybody has problems, and 10 to 15% of women actually experience miscarriage. Up until my assistant was killed in my car leaving my birthday party, which is what inspired this particular artwork. The moment that I found out that I had miscarried during my second pregnancy was, in a singular moment, the worst loss and feeling of my life. I already had a son, so I was really lucky that I already had one child. But actually, it took me 18 months to get pregnant with my son, so I struggled on a level with infertility. And then I had my son, God bless his soul. But then I had a miscarriage at 12 weeks. I was alone when I found out. I didn't think anything was wrong. It was a terrible, terrible moment. And it was a horrible loss. That loss actually made me reassess my entire life, because when you do go through such significant losses, it forces you to evaluate your life. Are you happy? Are you not happy? And so honestly, what I tried to do was take that experience. I had a DNC, and I learned that the baby wasn't healthy, so that was consoling a little bit. But I realized that that baby wasn't meant to be. And honestly, it forced me to make certain very hard decisions in my life that ultimately got me to where I am today. That singular experience, I'm not kidding, it made me realize I'm not happy and I need to make moves. So, but unfortunately I grew up with a lot of problems in my life, and so I'm relatively resilient and I keep it very real. I'm not embarrassed by anything. I know better than many people, that life is not perfect. So I was very open about my pregnancy loss. I would tell people, and immediately their reactions like they don't know what to say, because you're talking about something you shouldn't talk about. Miscarriage is super taboo. I actually try to destigmatize all taboos, right? If we only understood that everybody else experiences the same problems in life, and we're more open about them and had more honest conversations and comforting conversations and empathetic conversations instead of judgmental conversations, it would really enable us to heal much better and be kinder and more compassionate towards one another. So thank God for resources like NechamaComfort, okay? So what is NechamaComfort? NechamaComfort is an organization that tries to destigmatize the subject of miscarriage and infertility. It's a real struggle. It's heartbreaking when a woman wants to have a baby and it's not happening, and there are all sorts of infertility and miscarriage, right? And all you need to know is that somebody else has been through it as well, and NechamaComfort will connect you for one-on-one guidance, for group counseling for your husbands, your grandparents, because actually everyone suffers when there's pregnancy loss or infertility. They will provide you with other people to connect with who have been through the same experiences, who can guide you down a path towards one, understanding that you will get through it, this too shall pass, but two, to try and enable you to become stronger from that experience and understand that is part of God's plan. And God only gives us that which we can handle, and God willing, with enough prayer and, energy and the right foundation and support, like NechamaComfort, you will get through it, thriving, and everything has its purpose. So, I very much appreciate organizations that try to go against the grain and destigmatize things that are really honestly just normal for everybody. They happen in life. Society is not perfect, and yet we are very judgmental. So don't be afraid to go get help. If you look at my career, I made moves, okay, partially because of all the losses I experienced. And my first mentor ever, Christina Dolan, said, I will be successful because I'm not afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is an amazing thing. It requires strength. No one's going to give you anything on like a silver platter. You need to be willing to do the work. NechamaComfort will do the work with you. So I really, take advantage of the fact that they are such an amazing organization and reach out.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Savetsky, and I want to talk to you about why NechamaComfort is so important and why the work that they do is so critical. In 1 calendar year, my husband and I lost 3 pregnancies. Nothing can prepare you for the moment of hearing that there is no heartbeat, or your pregnancy is not viable, or seeing that you have miscarried. In one moment, your hopes and dreams are crushed. And it is an invisible loss. There's nowhere to stand and mourn. Something that was so real to you, that you had poured your whole heart into, just vanishes into thin air. 1 in 4 pregnancies end in loss, and yet we hear so infrequently about these losses, even from our friends and family. People tend to be private about it or keep it a secret. And the problem with that is secrecy can breed shame and guilt. I know for me personally, when I was going through each of my 3 losses, I felt so empty inside, and I had these irrational feelings that I had done something to cause this. And that is why NechamaComfort is so important, because they help women to feel less alone. They help them to know that it is not their fault. They help them to navigate this trying time and to learn to live with this as a part of their story, but not have it define them. These children that we carried are forever ours, and they live in our hearts forever, even if we never got to hold them in our arms. I cannot tell you how important it is to me to raise awareness for this organization. I only wish that I had known about them when I was experiencing each of my 3 losses, and I want to make it my mission to make sure that no woman that I know has to go through this without knowing that there's a resource to help them and to help their families to support them through it all. Thank you so much.
I'm Dr. John Greenberg, biblical and Talmudic ethnobotanist. What I'm trying to do in this video, as I do in my work on Torah Flora, is to show people how the natural and agricultural world of the Bible can help us not only to understand the Bible itself better, but also to help us draw lessons we might have missed otherwise for our own lives from biblical text. The grapevine is a very rich part of biblical tradition. It figures very prominently in the stories of Noah and the Exodus and Joseph and the Pharaoh. And again we see the grapevine because it was an important part of the biblical agricultural world. Now, what happens when we grow a grapevine? I'm standing now next to my grapevine. You can see on this side what the leaves looked like all summer. It was very healthy. It absorbed energy from the sun and used this energy to grow the grapes. We had about 10 pounds of grapes growing here this summer. Today, we're in the middle of October. Most of the leaves don't look like this anymore. You can see on my other side here what's more typical. They're turning yellow and then brown and beginning to fall on the ground. Soon, all the leaves will be gone from the vines and they will go dormant for the winter. In February, when the dormancy is deepest and it's coldest, I will come out here and cut these vines. I will prune them back so that they'll be ready to grow more vigorously in the spring. This is the nature of life for a perennial plant, a plant that lives more than 1 year. It flourishes in the spring and summer. It dies back in the winter. We can help that process, and then it can grow more vigorously in the spring. So all the nutrients that were taken from the leaves into the roots are available to the vine to grow new growth in the spring, new leaves, and eventually new grapes. So too, when we encounter adversity and we have losses in our own lives, and we feel that we're heading from a gorgeous, verdant summer into a bleak, cold, dark winter, and no end is in sight, it can help if we can build the resiliency in ourselves and find the resiliency within ourselves to come back and say, we know this is a very sad time. This is a terrible time, maybe. But if we can get through this, we have the possibility of new life ahead. Down the road will be the spring, and in the spring come new leaves and new flowers and new fruits and new children as well.
Hello, my name is Ellen Krischer. Life is full of challenges, big and small, and the families you are hearing about tonight are facing a challenge that is hard for most of us to even imagine. When we educate communities on supporting these families, the skills we teach apply to whatever life challenges we all may face. So what can we do to manage through difficult times? Start by keeping in mind that our journeys are personal. Everyone is different, and everyone reacts to loss and grief in their own way and on their own timeline. Sometimes we get impatient with someone who maybe seems not to be able to manage or seems to be taking too long to get over it. But it's their feelings, their journey, their path. Try to meet them on the path where they are, not where you wish they would be. On our journeys, we make choices about how to memorialize loved ones and what activities give us comfort. We should make the choices that speak to us as individuals and allow space for the individual choices of others. Often, our natural instinct when confronted with a problem is to try to fix it. We offer advice and suggestions. But when someone else is going through a crisis, it isn't something we can fix. What we can do is offer a listening ear, a quiet, steady presence without judgment. We can hear whatever the other person needs to say. We can say, I'm thinking of you. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. Or we don't have to say anything at all. Just being there, even socially distant, can be a comfort. Loss and sadness are often expressed as anger. And with all the stresses we face, patience is in short supply. Try to be gentle and forgiving of others' anger and not take it personally. They're reacting to their situation, not to you. Be forgiving of yourself, too, if you're not at your best. No one is at their best during a crisis. Challenges bring a host of unanswerable questions. Why? Why me? When will I stop feeling this way? When will this end? I wish I had the answers. The only questions that may be answerable are not why or when questions, but how and what questions. How will I manage? What can I do? Here's what you can do. Take care of yourself one day at a time. Honor your journey and the journeys of others. Be loving to those around you. Try to find something every day that makes you smile and feeds your soul.
I am Michael Baer, and I have the privilege of serving on the board of directors of NechamaComfort. I want to thank you for joining us at this evening's event. When I first heard the stories of families suffering infant and pregnancy loss, I knew I wanted to help. I wanted to be part of the chain of support that starts with a phone call or an email to our hotline and continues for as long as the family needs it. I wanted families to know that they're not alone, to know that they have guidance every step of the way, and to make sure that the professionals are trained in the ways to help. For the families here tonight who have experienced the loss of a child, I hope this evening has provided you with a measure of comfort and a time to honor your child. I also hope that we've given some useful tools that can help when supporting someone through a tragedy or trauma. During the current pandemic, We are all suffering different kind of losses. Yet, as proud as I am of the work that we've already done, the families you've met tonight represents only a tiny fraction of the people across the world who are suffering and need our help. The more we do, the more people and communities reach out for our services. We need to grow to meet that growing need, and we need your help to grow. If you've supported us in the past, we sincerely thank you. We hope we can count on you in the future. You are contributing to the growth of this crucial organization. If you haven't donated yet, think of the families you've met tonight and those who you didn't meet who need the services that we offer. I hope you will join me in helping NechamaComfort help them.
On behalf of all the NechamaComfort families, I want to thank you for coming to this event. Just by showing up, you have validated their feelings. And we can all take away something important, that even when life doesn't go the way we planned, we together can get through it. And I hope that you continue your support for NechamaComfort. With your generous help, we can continue helping all of these families and creating a healthy community.